So I'm in a weird spot, and I gotta tell you, it has to do with my daughter, right? Doing some parenting has to do with my daughter. Where do you bring kids into this? Do you talk about them? You know, don't want to embarrass my own daughter, or she grows up and sees it. But I imagine other parents go through this too. And you look at a situation and go, what did I do wrong? And you start with that. What did I do wrong? How did we get to this point? How are these decisions being made? And do you keep it to yourself because you're embarrassed or shame? Should you come out and speak to people about it because maybe it can prevent their kids from doing it? Or maybe lots of kids are doing it and we all get embarrassed and so none of us say anything. My daughter is having hamburgers without cheese, and she eats her sandwiches that same way. No cheese. It could be a ham, it could be a turkey, no cheese. And she doesn't order a hamburger, by the way. She doesn't know that word. So she orders a cheeseburger and then says without the cheese. Now, this just happened. True story. Right now, right before I came here, Red Robin, Tualatin, Oregon, the waitress put it on the menu like that, on the check like that. For a cheeseburger, it cost me another $1.83. The waitress could have just fixed it. She could have just said hamburger. It's a 3-year-old child, but she didn't. She did a cheeseburger, 86th the cheese, and I paid an extra $1.83. And this is partly to blame, in all fairness, I think, Helwani. Helwani's part of this. So, because how would you ever get to that point where you don't want a little American or you don't want a little cheddar on there? So Ariel, Elizabeth, and I got in a very friendly, but a very competitive battle on fight nights over charcuterie boards. Now, this whole thing started through my wife. She saw one on a menu at a hotel one time. She felt fancy saying the word charcuterie. It is, in all fairness to my wife, it's a bit of a classy appetizer. There's no mess. There's nothing deep fried. It's a bit of you have your little olives. But when you're doing a charcuterie board, it is a higher grade of cheese. And the better the cheese gets, the more, to quote my mother, the more nasty. Like a really good cheese will be nasty. I mean, go look at a blue cheese, just by example, which is great on salads. I'm sure you guys can all relate. That's nasty, how they come about that. So somewhere along the way, my feeling and guess is my daughter got involved in the charcuterie board. And at 3 years old, her taste just weren't cut up. She possibly had a rind, by the way, right? She would have had something that she didn't like, turn to somebody, say, what is that? Somebody said cheese, and she's out on cheese. But you can also get rind on a charcuterie board where you have, and you got to cut it, and she didn't peel. But to hold an American, which melts so good, to hold a cheddar liable for a bad Munster or a Brie that you came across at one point, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to blame. Somewhere along the way, I've made a mistake. But I think it ties into the charcuterie board. In many ways, I blame Ariel.